Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have some updated potential renderings of the massive Delta Center renovation that very likely could be starting next spring. That's at least what they're saying. Let's get into this article. You can see potential renovation around the Delta Center still being discussed by the city council. And that was the main rendering that was released. It has the word draft on it, so it's not official, but you can see some surrounding buildings. And then it does look like some type of renovation to the Delta Center. The more interesting photo would actually be the aerial shot of the Delta Center. You can see new grand entryway. It seems like they're trying to build something onto the side of the Delta Center, possibly a new entrance, and possibly expand the arena at least a little bit, and maybe build almost like a wall around the entire thing, at least just judging from this aerial shot. You can see there's a big entertainment hub. Looks like they've got another entertainment thing connected to the Delta Center, and that's something that a lot of NBA teams want to do with their new arenas. They want to connect, whether it's a casino, whether it's restaurants and bars, they want another building connected to the Delta Center. And then it also looks like there might be another building that's connected to the Delta Center, because right now it's just basically a square. And so all those buildings would be brand new. And you can see the entertainment hub going straight down the center, right in front with the grand entrance. And then it looks like they also want to build up some residential areas as well as a brand new hotel. And then possibly also extending, as you can see, to a phase 2. They say, quote, getting a pedestrian connection all the way to West Temple, whatever that looks like, is really important. I hope that comes to fruition. It does seem like this is a project that will cost a ton of money. The renovation itself to the Delta Center, as I've discussed in the past, when you look at it, the interior needs to be renovated, the exterior needs to be renovated. That alone is probably going to be $450, maybe $500 million to renovate it and custom fit it to not just, hockey standards, but also make sure it's good for basketball standards as well. Because right now and next year, when the Utah team, whatever they're going to be named, when they play there, it is going to be a brutal, brutal thing. It's very similar to Barclays Center in Brooklyn when it transitions to hockey. It just looks terrible, and there's like walls and walls of like pushed up seats because it's not really meant for hockey. They did not build this arena for a hockey team. Yes, technically, when it comes to arenas in general, they should be able to both fit a hockey rink and an NBA court, but some of them could do it better than others. This one, obviously, it struggles with it to where you've got a bunch of seats pushed back and it looks really bad, and that's why they're dealing with like a lower attendance and a bunch of seats that have obstructed views. So the entire thing is going to have to be redesigned on the interior, I would guess, and it actually might be more than $500 million. When you look at what happened in Seattle with Key Arena, that becomes Climate Pledge Arena, that total rebuild to the interior cost $1 billion. And they really didn't change a ton on the exterior. So they're changing stuff on the exterior, they're changing stuff on the interior, and they're also adding, it looks like, buildings connected to the Delta Center, along with residential areas, a hotel, and then possibly a phase 2 in the future. And again, the timeline on this, if they get the money from the city council, will be starting next April. So right after the NHL season, right after the NBA season, I would imagine the first thing they're going to do is replace all the interior seating and do that, and then focus on the exterior, because I'm sure they want to expand the hockey capacity, because right now the capacity for hockey is a lot lower than it is for basketball, because they have to push back a bunch of seats to even fit the rink into the arena. That is the main problem. But it does seem like, at least according to these initial renderings, the big stuff here is they're adding on a grand entrance to the front of the Delta Center. We've gotten no renderings of what the interior looks like, at least right now. I'm sure those will come out at some point. These are just draft images, but it does look like a brand new exterior front entrance, along with potential buildings attached to the Delta Center, possibly reconfiguring the streets around the Delta Center, and then also adding in residential areas, a restaurant. If you remember that one image of a potential new Utah arena, honestly, if this ends up costing, like, if the arena renovation costs $750 million, why would you not just build a new one? But I guess you could make the argument the land, where they would build it would be a big issue, because I think they love where the Delta Center is located, and it just makes more sense to renovate it. But it just becomes an issue where it's like, if it costs $700 million to renovate it, even $500 million, why not just shill out an extra 500 million and build a beautiful brand new state-of-the-art arena that's going to last you 30 or 40 years? Again, it's easier said than done. Maybe Ryan Smith doesn't want to spend that money, but my initial thought was, if you're going to go all in on getting an NHL team with the Jazz and you own both of them, wouldn't you rather, instead of kind of renovating an older arena that at this point was renovated in like 2016, 2017 when they replaced all of the seats, wouldn't you rather just go in with a new arena and start with that? Because that new arena, the rendering that we saw, I like the exterior look of that. It's like an ice feel to it. Looks really nice, but apparently that is not happening. That is already outdated and it's never going to be built. They are going forward with this renovation, and we will see if it does actually end up happening, with the timeline possibly in April of 2024. I would imagine it will happen. There were rumors that plans also included, this is according to the article, a helipad. The Smith Entertainment Group clarified that they would never ask for one and have no intention of asking for one. They wanted a helipad. That's a very strange request, but apparently it's not happening. And this is supposedly, when it comes to Salt Lake City, it's going to revitalize downtown. That's what they're pitching. It's not just the arena, it's also the buildings attached to the Delta Center, and then also the extra hotel, along with other things. Kind of reminds me of the OKC situation. They're going to be building an arena, and they've got a massive skyscraper and kind of hotel complex going right next to it. That's just the way these things seemingly are going here nowadays. It's got to be the surrounding areas, and it really does look like they're putting almost a bigger emphasis on the surrounding areas than the Delta Center itself. But it's not like this is a small renovation. The entire interior needs to be reconfigured. There's going to have to be significant money, you would think, that would have to be spent on the interior of this arena. Personally, when I look at this arena, the Delta Center for basketball, I think it's out of date. It kind of looks like the Bradley Center almost, a little bit. If you guys remember the Milwaukee Bucks arena, that was just terrible. It's just two walls of seats. I mean, it's very generic. That's why I thought they were going to get a new one, and because it just feels like they need to do so much work at changing the interior. The amount of money it would cost wouldn't suffice, in terms of it would make more sense to just build a new arena rather than do the renovation. But it does seem like the biggest sticking point. Maybe it is the money. Maybe they don't want to shill out. The ownership doesn't want to shill out $1 billion in private funds. Maybe it's the area in which it's located. Where would you put a new arena? And where would you have areas surrounding it to actually be able to make it work? It's not like you just knock down the Delta Center and build a new arena right on top of it, because the Jazz and the NHL team would need a place to play. So it seems like they're going to do the first stage of the renovation after this next season. So this next season, the NHL team's going to play in an unrenovated Delta Center. It's going to look really bad. The Jazz are obviously going to play. It's going to be fine for them. Then the renovation happens, or at least stage one of the renovation, which I would predict would be the interior redesign of the arena, because they're going to want to be able to expand the capacity. And then the second stage is probably going to be the exterior and adding on that front main grand entrance. That's, I'm guessing, or maybe that will be part of the first stage. And then the final stage would be the surrounding area. Or maybe they'll do the surrounding area the same time they do the interior renovation. I'm not sure. But with a renovation this wide scale, but with a renovation that's this large, this is going to take multiple years for sure. I would say at least 2, possibly 3 or 4, to get this entire area filled up, and for the actual plan to go into effect. The high-rise residential building, the low-rise hotel, and all of the different entertainment districts that would be located right next to the arena, with an entertainment hub, looks like, connected to the arena, and then another building there on the left that would also be connected to the building as well. So this would be the update for the Delta Center. We will see what ends up happening. I would be expecting interior renderings at some point. This was just the rough draft that came out a few days ago, but it does shed some light on how they're going to approach this renovation, possibly changing the exterior of the arena and adding a brand new entrance to it, along with buildings that are attached. And then you've got that kind of that grand main street right up against the entrance, going all the way down, with all of the new buildings that would be to the left and to the right of that. It's not really a road. It's like more of a walkway, a walk street, whatever you want to call it. That is kind of how they're designing it. And then they also do have a potential phase 2. And then they also do have a potential phase 2, and then they also do, on top of that, have a potential phase 2, which I'm guessing would come at a much later date. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.